I'll wave the wand and call the meeting to order. Calling the January 20th, 2022 Keizer Traffic Safety, Bikeways, and Pedestrian Committee meeting to order. On the agenda, it says we'll first have the election of the chair and vice chair. As you all know, we have the annual vote on that, and we have a quorum, so we can take the vote, but we don't have, yes, Hirsch?
We can elect people that aren't here.
We could.
I would just go, Mr. Chair, I was thinking maybe we could delay it till February, or would we get in trouble? Oh, okay.
Well, I probably should scoot over a little bit for safety, but I was gonna nominate Jamie as
I
chair.
concur if she's interested.
Oh. Okay.
You do a great job.
Yeah.
All right, let's
And
see what
if Mike was vice chair,
And I would accept being
that.
vice chair.
then he
Yeah.
could support
But
you in any,
Because
With all
that's kind
his
of what we
experience.
did initially, was I was and he was vice, and that really helped.
Mm-hmm.
And vice,
just as long as this is a partnership.
It's a,
okay, so
let's
I
move
nominate,
forward.
can I nominate both, or would,
Yes, you can.
I nominate Jesse?
Jamie.
Jamie, I nominate Jamie for chairman and Mike for
vice.
vice chairman?
Yeah.
Assistant chairman.
and I second.
There you go.
All right,
And
so.
I move that the nominations be closed.
Second.
Okay.
We need to vote on that.
I think, did we have to vote on the first one first?
Actually, no, the way it works with the nomination, it's not like a motion.
Right.
So with no further nominations, it's automatic, the nominations are closed and you are elected by unanimous consent.
There,
Which is,
we consent.
We-
Yeah.
Yeah, unanimously
Okay.
consent.
Thank
So,
you, Jamie.
yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Next time I'd like to be invited to the dinner that this happened to.
think what had happened if you weren't here tonight.
Yeah.
I'd have been both, huh?
So, remind me, Debbie, do we do the transition right this moment?
I've never really gotten a definite answer on that, and it varies by committee.
Because I can do tonight.
I would like next one.
Okay, yeah, that's fine with me, yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, I want to, first of all, say thank you to Jamie. I do think you're a great leader and a great person. One of the things I feel like is your strong point and, strength is being good about getting tasks done. I'm more of a dreamer, I suppose, than the task master, but hopefully we'll follow your lead and get things done.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll do my best.
Okay, so that being done, we will move to the approval of the November 21 minutes.
I move we approve the minutes of the, when was it?
November 2021.
November 18th, 2021 meeting.
I second that as written.
All right. All in favor of approving the minutes from the November 18th, 2021 meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I don't think I heard any no's or even a chance of a no or abstain, so I think that passes. Okay. All right, moving on, we have the appearance of interested citizens. This is the time of our meeting where we have citizens come up to discuss an issue that is not on the agenda. I didn't see a signature, a sign-in sheet.
Yeah, did you sign it?
But you can come on up while we're dealing with that.
Is this working?
Uh,
Hello?
Is that on there?
Is that on?
We didn't have much left of that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, thank you.
Good evening. Oh, that's working. My name's Rhonda Rich, and I'm here representing the West Keizer Neighborhood Association as this year's vice president. kind of standing in for Carol Dorfler. She's still president. And glad to be here. And first of all, I'd like to give a little background. You know Carol Dorfler, our president from last year, and she's been a couple of years in this year. And Carolyn Homan, who's our secretary, is in the audience, have been attending these TSBP committee meetings for, I think, most of last year in representing concerns from our neighborhood association. So there's been people who've come forward and shared with Carol and Carolyn their concerns, and that's what they have brought with you. So we discussed this at the board meetings last fall, the neighborhood board meetings, and we decided to go out into the neighborhood and gather information from the neighbors, and we thought the best way to do that, we're a pretty big association, is to put door hangers on the doors. We didn't actually go up and talk to people. So we did a little door hanger telling them that in January and February, our meetings would be devoted to traffic issues. So if anybody had any comments, to please come and share those with us. This notice was also on our website, that's on our yard signs, and we did email and did about 300 homes with door hangers. And those were on the kind of the minor arterials, I guess you'd call, Rafael, Shoreline, Cummings, Sunset, I think possibly Mambrin. But we had pretty good turnout at our January 13th meeting. We had 20 members appear, and that's kind of our normal attendance. And most of these people who came, I'd say about half, did make comments concerning traffic issues. And that's what I have given you. You each have a copy of the first page is the comments from the residents that we just kind of did some brainstorming, wrote it up on a flip chart, and that's what you have on your first page. And the second and third page are comments from the minutes of the meeting. So they're similar, but a little bit different. But this is really just informational for you at this time. Councilor Smith and Councilor Herrera also attended the meeting. And so I'm here to show you this to kind of go over, summarize some of this information. Not that we're going to ask for solutions tonight, but kind of point out what some of the issues are and where, and some of the solutions that were mentioned. And we're going to expand on this at our February 10th meeting. We've invited Chief John Tigg from the police department to come, and he's also gotten this information. And we've invited members back to our meeting who have made comments at the January meeting, and also we hope to have some more people come in and kind of express, their concerns. We're really a conduit for bringing forward information from the neighborhood. So just for the listeners on channel 23, since I don't have a copy of this, and it won't be up on the website till after the minutes are approved, which will be next month. But the issues, number one is speeding down kind of some of our main streets, poor street lighting, no sidewalks, which we're well known for, I think. Rolling stops at stop signs, complaints filed, but they can't be enforced because you can't just call the police department and say, I saw somebody and I have their license, and the police are not allowed to just go after them on hearsay. So, and that was a little frustrating for one of the members. Noisy vehicles, and that it's pointed out that Google routes the traffic through the neighborhood according to the speed limit and the shortest route, and some of those, that's where we get some of the speeding down, some of these shortcuts. The streets that we're kind of focused on, and the hope is that as we move along in this, that maybe we do focus on 2 or 3 areas that we can do something about. But we'll be back in February to talk more about that. Fifth Avenue is alongside Willamette Manor Park, and there's a holiday swim club there. Sunset Avenue, Dennis Lane, Cummings Lane, Shoreline Drive, Chamawa Road, Mambrin, River Road, and Raffel. And some of the solutions that people, we just kind of brainstormed, just what would people think might work. And speed bumps, islands, education for children and pedestrians, like clothing to wear so they'd be seen at night, skateboarders and bicyclists. Lower speed around schools, maybe 24/7, that it's 20 miles an hour than just when kids are there, because there's also a playground there. More police presence, red light cameras, and those were focused on River Road. And to put more sidewalks, especially around Cummings Lane for school children. And so that's, like I said, just bringing information to you. I know we've worked together on getting other projects done. The Delight Street was a great, and David helped head that up, and we got that done. And so this is, you might say, traffic's always out there, but it's like, we need to listen to the neighbors too, and their perception is real to them. So we can say, well, there's not a problem there, but we'll just see what we can accomplish, and through you and through the police department, and so.
Well, thank you for this. I had a question. On the door hanger, was it just an announcement of the meetings, or was there actual questions on it?
No, there were no questions. I'm sorry, I didn't bring a copy of that. I thought of it on the way here. It was just announcing that we were meeting in January and February and our times, and if you had any traffic concerns, to please, this would be the time to come to the meeting and bring it forward.
And did you allow anyone to do, say, an online comment or some type of email comment where if they couldn't attend?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Carol's email was on that flyer, wasn't it? Yeah, the president's email was on that flyer.
Okay.
And so we will follow up. And there's also access through our website that people can send a message through the West Keizer Neighborhood Association website.
Okay, great. Any comments? Hirsch?
Just on the comments about kids' education, the Safe Routes to School coordinator, Fort Cummings, McCray Carmichael, we've had some great plans, but all of them have been kiboshed because of COVID not being able to get the kids. But our online meeting this last week, she has plans for this spring, and the focus for Safe Routes is walking, biking, the whole works safe. And she's got some grants to be able to even give out some equipment, so we'll have to wait and see if we can get into the classroom. And tentatively, we are planning something in May here, a bike skills fair.
Oh, okay. I know it's ongoing
Yeah,
as kids
so
grow and come up through.
We're kind of on board with some of your thoughts from West Keizer.
Thank you, appreciate that.
And one thing I was thinking is, and maybe some of this has been done already, Hirsch, or David, if you know, when we pick a spot, like, hey, let's consider doing something here, maybe working with the neighborhood association to kind of have an open house. And I don't know how that works with the city rules on just a public kind of fact finding and then question and answer. Because like for Cummings Lane, I'd heard that when the city years ago was considering doing some sidewalks there, there was a lot of opposition because of people fearing that they were going to lose their parking.
Right.
So kind of getting ahead of that curve, educating people. So if that's something that the neighborhood association would be willing to help with the committee to educate, and not just yours, but we have 2 others.
Right, and we did a little open house on Delight Street too. I think Bill Lawyer was there when we were going to widen, make a pathway, and parking is a concern in that pathway. And we have a couple board members that are keeping an eye on that because we were told we can't just say no parking in that widened area where the kids are supposed to walk. And we would have to get a petition or, kind of get most of the community there on board that there would be no parking or at certain times of day that there would be no parking. So we're kind of just monitoring that ourselves.
Right.
So.
Hirsch?
The bike skills fair that we're possibly planning in May, would the West Keizer Association be willing to be some partners on it?
Sure.
Well, we can talk, you can ask you questions in February.
Yeah, if you could give me a date.
Not yet,
Okay.
but we're thinking May,
Okay.
because that's Bike Month.
And would it be at Cummings Elementary or would it be here?
Here or at the Big Nahoy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think
Yeah,
we could
Cummings
do
might
that.
be difficult to do, just because the only one paved area.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, keep in touch with me and,
We
yeah,
will, okay.
yeah, bring that to the board, so.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more name, Katie Stokes.
Hi.
Hello.
I apologize in advance for how kind of sporadic this will likely be because I was aware of this meeting like 2 hours ago. So I had originally called City Hall earlier today to ask if there was anything someone I could talk to about a couple vehicles that have constantly just been parked near my neighborhood, and it is significantly causing safety concerns with the flow of traffic. And the person who I spoke to had mentioned how, yeah, they can take a look at those cars, but since there's not a no parking sign there, they can't really do anything if other people park there in the future. And so when I asked how to go about maybe looking at getting a no parking sign in this area, they said to come here. So I am here. And I am referring to the spot on Willow Lake right after you turn off of Windsor Island.
I live there too.
Oh, do
I
you
know what
the
you're
curve? It's the curve.
I know,
He knows.
right, I know.
It's the
I know.
curve.
Tell me again, Little Lake?
Willow Lake. And it's so right after you turn on Willow Lake from Windsor Island.
I live on Lacey.
Okay, I'm on Willow Leaf. So you're closer to it than I am, but
So is that no parking on the north side or the south side of Willow? 'Cause we
so it is north south. It would be
Parking
west.
on both sides where it narrows.
we've installed signs on the north side here, I think.
No, you're thinking at the turn.
Yeah.
And
No,
that-
I'm just clarifying, I just want to ask.
This is farther
Okay.
farther west.
So there actually used to not be any no parking sign. And so there would be cars parked right when you turn, and you would always risk maybe hitting a bumper or something like that. So they ended up, I don't know when, I don't know how, but there ended up being a no parking sign posted. There's an apartment complex, and the no parking sign is right before the entrance of the apartment complex and says no parking to the corner. However, those cars that used to park there have now simply just moved forward to where this curve is. And the trouble with that is if you're coming out of the apartment complex, you can't see any cars coming from the right because of the vehicles that are parked on the street. And in addition, we've got really big construction trucks from Windsor Rock and Knife River and other very large trucks coming to and from this road that then is basically turned into a one-way because of cars parked on this curve. And I myself as a, pedestrian residential driver And even as a pedestrian, I've always been like, I hope I don't get hit. I hope no one touches me, because those really big trucks have nowhere to go. They just kind of have to take up the whole space.
Where are the trucks going?
There's a gravel pit at the end of Willow Lake Road.
Willow Lake.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
all the way down, and there's
What-
Knife River
what
trucks
is
and Windsor
happening?
Rock trucks.
Is there, on the curve on the north side, they're parking, but now Wayne Thackeray's property, Lauren Sanitation, where the fence is, they're parking there.
Yes.
Is this Windsor Island Road?
No,
No.
Willow
Willow
Lake.
Lake.
Okay.
Willow Lake.
And it's narrowing it. Even me on the bike, I have to stop.
Yeah, so it is impossible for it is a two-way street, but it is impossible for two cars to be going in either direction. It ends up being everybody has to pay attention, and it turns into a one-way because, like Hirsch said, there's also cars on the other side where there's a fence and cars are being parked along the fence over here, as well as this curve that then just narrows it so much that only one vehicle can go. And so I've been in this neighborhood for 25 years and have always thought how that should be a no parking area. That should be a no parking area. And then when the no parking sign was up before the entrance to the apartment complex, I said, oh, great. But then just noticed that the problem just got moved forward instead of where it was. And I thought, I'm sure there's a way I can just bring this up somewhere and have it get looked into. And so when I called, they said to come here. So just to have it be brought to attention, the person I had talked to had mentioned that different people from different programs would potentially go out and look at it and deem if it is, needing to be looked at further or dealt with coding and things like that. But I find that it's not only a very inconvenient spot for cars to be allowed to park, but also it's becoming more and more of a safety issue.
Just to be clear, are we talking right here? Or, right now, it's, yeah, so,
Here's Willow
No,
Lake.
that's not. Farther to the west.
Yeah.
So it would be down further
Yeah.
west a little bit. It would be after the entrance to the apartment complex. So they're yep, so.
oh, there we go.
The trucks turning off of Windsor Island were having a tremendous problem, and there was even some close calls of hitting parked cars. So the city agreed that one moved, but you're right, the problem moved farther west.
Okay,
Yeah.
is there, just offhand, do you think that there's going to be development down that way that'll increase the traffic in the future?
Guaranteed.
Okay.
Mike said that.
I'm not familiar with it.
Oh, yeah.
We
Okay, so
recently
we have a
had,
problem now, we're gonna have
we recently had 2 subdivisions built within the past 5 years.
Yeah, there's some property that's open right down at the end.
So we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
I mean, and I understand the problem right at the beginning, we put up the no parking, and that helped
Right.
alleviate that issue, but the problem is, you
Yes.
just said, oh, hey, I can't go here, I'm gonna go over here. And it is a public street, so it's okay to park in those
Right.
spots. We'll look at it
Okay.
and evaluate it, and if even something more to be done, like a 50, 25, 30-foot yellow curbing or something, I'm just throwing ideas out, or no parking. The problem is now those cars will not park there. Now they're gonna actually park on the curb part, which it just keeps moving it. So like I said, we'll look at it.
Well, right now,
Don't know
the
how
big
much we
problem
can
is
do.
the parking on both sides. And then one side is Wayne's property.
Yeah.
Well,
So after
Yeah,
the curb,
we'll look at
it's straight. So once there's the straight street, it's easier to see people coming and not coming. It happens to be that curve, especially for, I've pulled into that apartment complex before, like I forgot something at home, needed to turn around, and I can't see anything to my right. I just have to take a guess that no one's coming and I don't get hit. So after that curve, it's all straight. You can see who's coming, who's going.
And it is wider.
Yeah, it widens after the curve.
It widens
You're right.
out after the curve,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Mike, do we have any city policies regarding trucks on side streets on a regular basis?
Yeah,
I mean,
they're
I
not-
understand that cement trucks have to come down when they're building a house or something. But if they're gonna use that road as a business road, I guess. I don't know
It
what
is
to
a
call it a business road. Do we have any policies regarding that? Okay.
Because they've been there since,
I do it, I'm just saying,
yeah, they've been
maybe
there
we
for
need
40,
one. Yeah.
As long as I can
yeah,
remember.
40, 50 years.
Yeah.
Keizer Sand and Gravel back when it started, and then it's changed hands many times. It's Knife River.
Knife
bought it
River,
now.
yeah.
That's the curve. He pulled it up. Yeah, so right at that little curve, where the mouse is where cars typically tend to, park, but now where the garbage cans are across the street is where a lot of cars are parking as well. And so it's nearly impossible for anything but a large construction truck to go one way.
I've noticed that curves always, for whatever reason, make the road look narrower.
It is narrower, but
It may be also, but then it's even more narrower.
yeah,
I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
so I was thinking we had the complaint one time about Park Meadow, right up near Wheatland Road, where there's a curve as well. These cars are parking out there, it became so narrow. So I went out and measured it, it's the same as it is everywhere else.
Yeah.
It just looks worse.
It's kind of like a de facto, curb bulb out. It almost, it gives you that feeling like it's coming out at you.
Right.
Yeah.
it does slow traffic down, there's no doubt about that.
Well, there we go.
I'm glad Hirsch knows exactly what I'm talking about, because I was trying to figure out how to explain this in a,
So we have two issues. One is blind turns with more than one, I mean, not somebody's driveway, but coming out of the apartment.
right,
complex.
coming out of the apartment complex.
And then you have the road too narrow.
Yeah,
And-
yeah,
and-
especially with the construction vehicles, because they
Well,
take up.
what
more
would happen
space.
if two trucks were going in opposite directions on that
One would
corner?
have to pull to
They
the
would have to
side.
pull over and wait for the other one to pass. There's absolutely
they
no
do.
way they
I
can
know,
get
but I'm
together.
just thinking,
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's all I have.
Okay.
Unless there's any
Thank
more
you.
questions, but that's all I have to bring up, and yeah.
Okay,
I'll
thank
mark
you.
that off my list of reporting
Yeah,
tonight.
and just so you
Thank
know, we meet the third Thursday of every month, so if you ever have any other
Okay.
things, that's,
Perfect, thank you. When she had told me it was tonight, I was,
Yeah,
okay,
perfect time.
I'll be there.
Stars align.
yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
County road.
Okay, well, that is the end of our, where's my
public comment.
public comment? Thank you, I was blanking on the words. Here we go. Okay, so moving on, unless anyone has anything else to say about either of those?
She nailed it
Okay.
for that issue.
Uh,
My only, so we've got three main issues, besides the one that's unruled. Speeding's, we hear a lot about that. And we hear a lot about lighting, we hear a lot about sidewalks. The speeding issue, I really don't know what to do about. The sidewalks, we have a mechanism in place that works sometimes. What do we call it? Not policy, but enforcement, code enforcement officer. Well, you're supposed to keep the sidewalk in front of your house safe. So if I go for a walk there and you haven't done that, I can go complain to the city, and the city will write you a letter and tell you to fix it. Unfortunately, some people can't afford to fix it, but the rule, general policy is you're supposed to keep it in shape. And that, to my knowledge, that system works most of the time. And it requires the people who are walking there to make the issue to the city. Pretty easy to do. So that would eliminate probably a lot of the sidewalk problems as long as it's not, we're not talking about no sidewalks, we're talking about sidewalks that are falling apart. So I noticed that the ones I complained about 2 or 3 months ago along River Road and Verda and a couple others, most of those got fixed. So I'm not sure the people were happy about it, but they got fixed. The lighting, the city's policy on lighting, I don't agree with it either, but it's each individual neighborhood is responsible for their lighting.
We have a bunch of different lighting districts around.
Yes.
depending upon if it's-
But each district is responsible for paying for its own lighting, correct? I get a bill for,
Yeah, there's a little thing that's tacked on that, yeah, at the end of the year,
Right.
when you pay your taxes and
Right.
whatnot, there's a certain amount, and so, yeah.
Yeah.
And that pays for the upkeep of those said lights.
Well, and also for the installation, I'm on a newer section off of Willow Lake. And what I paid in my house, new house, was for the lighting district, for the installation of the lights there on Lacey, my portion.
No, I got you. Again, I live in the Gupser neighborhood, and I know somebody wanted a new street light, and they can get one, but they have to pay for it. So you
Right.
kind of go door to door and didn't realize that, oh, well, and the request kind of came through me, but, so they thought it was a city request, but it was like, no, you know, if you want it, you need to get neighborhood people together, and just because it was rusty, they decided that it was okay, the lights, you know. It wasn't they wanted a brand new one installed, just didn't like the look.
now,
but-
and I'm aware of that, but I also know that if you don't like it, or people don't like it, the way they want the city to put lights wherever they're needed, and want the city to do that, then you need to show up at the city council, you need to show up at all the budget committee meetings, because somebody has to pay for it. And if you want the city to pay for it, it's gotta be part of the city budget. And when nobody shows up at the budget meetings, and I was on the budget committee for 2 or 3 different years, terms. God, that's 9 years.
Yeah, I know.
Jeez, that's a long time.
And I-
Anyway,
And I just took your position.
I know it. If nobody shows up in all those meetings to say something about lights wherever, in Gupser or where I live up by Park Meadow, nothing's gonna happen. So citizen involvement is important, and plus, call your city council members. They all have phones.
Could I have just a second?
Yeah.
Katie,
Yes.
we're in the process, it may take several months, but forming a neighborhood association in our area. So I want to let you know about it.
Thank you.
We're the Wes Keizer going to help us a little bit in the designing, but we're going to have one.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so let's move on to Jamie. Do you have a report from the SCATS project solicitation?
I do not, and I have not talked to the mayor either, and I forgot. So, we're just gonna go over what some of from our November meeting, if we were to want to submit for the grant, it's opening February 1st through March 18th. We would have one meeting to be able to get our committee on board with whatever project we would want to include in the Safe Routes to School. So I do think that maybe you and I should probably meet a couple days before next month and at least have our list of items, and then maybe we can take that, that would get my memo written, and then we can bring that to council.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
We just finished up the Wheatland project, and there was a presentation to city council on that. And in our preliminary meeting, Bill brought up, as well as Mike Jaffe, applying for some of that grant money, Safe Routes to School, as part of the Wheatland project. And because all this money is, we got the preliminary, I think city council approved it. So in the next phase is funding. And, that takes some time. And if we get money for this, and I may be wrong, but if we get money approved now, that's good for 2026.
Okay.
And that's kind of, we don't know the exactly engineering portion, whether it was done, but they want to do some of the pedestrian stuff first. So just in your meeting, Wheatland is, the
But is
planning
that-
portion's done.
The planning.
Right, so,
But is that
And-
safe routes to school? That sounds like that's not,
It's
what's,
gonna be some safe routes to school monies, not for the whole project, but for sections, because of the schools there.
okay.
no, I was listening on their, they had a couple of webinars this recently, and maybe I'm confusing things, but there was a talk about, is the speed of the road, the number of accidents, the number of lanes, but there's also all the talk about the Title I schools and all that.
Yeah.
So, are you, because those aren't Title I schools up there, right?
No,
I think Clear Lake is.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I know Forest Ridge isn't. But there's the Centennial, which is, I think, Head Start,
Okay.
right there at the Clear Lake and stuff. The consultant and Mike Jaffe because this is gonna take
Yeah,
sources from a lot of different pots to do it. But safe routes to school was one that they were clearly talking about, because it meets all, the project's just beautiful.
mm-hmm,
It's what we would love, multi-use path, bikeways, trees, slowing devices, everything. And it's gonna take some time to get it. But
Sure.
I just wanted to let you guys know about the Wheatland, because the mayor may bring that up.
Who would be writing up that grant with council?
No, it'd probably be Bill.
Yeah.
with one directed by council.
He has to go, just like any, has to go through council first, and he mentioned that.
Yeah. Now, after last meeting, I talked to Bill about that. There was that, I thought it was SCATs, I can't remember now. But there was that near-term application you had to get in and it just had to be very high-level idea, just to get your foot in the door. And so Bill and I talked. Do you have any information on that? I don't have those notes right now. Bill, I can check my email and talk to you about that after the meeting. But yeah, he was going to put in, we were talking about, and Cummings came up as one of the ideas that we had thrown out of streets that would possibly be candidates for money to put sidewalks in.
The safe routes to parks would be perfect for Kennedy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that wouldn't detract from the Wheatland project at all.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, so, yeah, Jamie, I did, as I was saying, I watched some webinars, and there's the planning grant application, and there's the engineering design, and then there's the education grant. And planning, I think, is an important one, only because it's gonna help us have professionals help us really narrow down where we should focus on, and they look citywide. One of the things, and Hirsch, maybe you can speak to this, I know you've talked to some of the principals, and some of the principals have been really open to doing these kinds of things. It sounds like, though, it would have to be almost at the district level, or at least every school in Keizer to really want to kind of a unified
Yeah.
support.
You'd have to have, probably, you're right, probably be district level. Now, if we were focusing just at Kennedy, all we need is the principal there. And when we did the Cummings thing, it was, just Cummings and McNair.
Mhm.
If we want to do a unified, I think we have to bring in transportation, district transportation. They're the ones and their facilities people.
Yeah.
But I think the first thought is if we could get McCray here, talk with her too.
Yeah.
because she's moving faster now. I don't know, with the kids not, with this COVID thing again, she's kind of was a little frustrated, but she has more of a handle on the district level stuff. Right now, I can tell you that a lot of the administration is filling in for teachers.
Oh, yeah.
At school. My daughter's school, Christy Perry is the principal.
Wow.
So, they're busy right now, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't pursue.
Sure. I can't remember, I'm sure I've asked this before, but can McCrae help us with actually completing the applications? Or is
Probably not.
Because she can't be focused on a
She's
certain
an
area.
implementer of a grant that was given for her.
Right.
And Heidi Manlove at ODOT can give us advice, but she can't help us.
Right, yeah. Okay,
Okay.
well, so after the meeting, Jamie, we'll talk about our schedules and get that. Once it's in here, it has to be real, right?
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, but so I hear what you're saying as far as the grant part, but the February 1st to March 18th is the education and planning assistance. So we really want to hone in on the planning assistance piece,
Yeah,
because we're still in first phase.
yeah, and one of the things that was brought up at the webinar was, what someone asked, what comes first, the chicken or egg thing, the implementation of a project or education, and in my mind, it's got to be a yes to both. So, okay, well, is that it?
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on to the TSP goals, objectives, and policies discussion. This is something that I meant to bring up at the last meeting, and I didn't, because I forgot that I brought it up. But this time I did not. So I was just looking through the TSP, and as you all know, that it's a little dusty document now. It's time for a refresh, but it is what we have. And so I was just looking at a couple of things that in my mind, they're policy, they're not you shall, except, well, if you,
Turn the lights off so you can see the screen up there, or are you okay with
I'm reading.
I can read it on my paper, but I don't know if our audience cares. Okay. So some of the things that just jumped out at me that I don't know if we're doing enough on. So on 2-3, page 2-3, goal 3, policy 5.
Wait a minute, okay.
Higher accident locations will be periodically evaluated for potential safety improvements. And Mike, maybe you can have any input on these, but when we do have accident areas, is there an after-action review by Public Works as to what potential safety improvements might be put in?
Not unless it comes from the police and they find an issue or a problem and bring it to our attention, and then we would look into it and address the situation and see if something needs to be taken care of.
Okay. And kind of in the same thought is policy 6, safety issues will be considered when evaluating improvement projects. So I would imagine this is maybe more Public Works and getting input from Keizer Police, but when Bill and you guys are hammering out an idea of where you want to do a project, I'm sure you do talk about safety issues, but is it that you're guided by the TSP as to what to install in a certain area, or what kind of flexibility you have?
Well, we look at our policies and our standards, and we look to our engineers who put all that together, and then we review that and then go from there and make changes as we see necessary, additions, subtractions, and so there's many layers and many people have their hands into what ends up being, the final production.
Hirsch, did you?
Is that a,
I can just talk about one improvement project, the Wheatland,
Right,
since was a year-long project. The contractor and everything gathered from the city, both police and some of their own statistical information on Wheatland, what its problems was. They talked to the school district. So for that little project, they did follow the policy.
okay.
And, I was impressed in the process. It wasn't just pure engineering. There was
Right.
actually social, where people walk and those kind of questions and thoughts that came out. There
That's good.
wasn't a lot of accident data. There's not a lot of accidents out there, but close calls were talked about and things like that. So,
Okay. Well, that's
in
good.
perception, because there was a lot of open house kind of information. So,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think that's great, and I'm very pleased with the Wheatland. The whole process has been
well,
great.
next is the the funding, and the next is the engineering.
Jamie, did you have something to say?
I was gonna ask Mike, is there like an annual list that you guys review with council that these are, like, I see we have a sidewalk connectivity and well, this one's kind of old, but the pedestrian improvement projects, like, are those the two main standards of where you're going to start working on stuff on? Or is it, and then budget, like, bring the budget into it to figure out?
And then priorities change and how things fit in and whatnot. So, I mean, you can have a perfect plan and, follow X, Y, Z, but as things happen, some get pushed out and then some get, slid in underneath it just as things go. I think I missed the first part of your question, though.
Well,
Maybe
I was
answered
just
it.
wondering if maybe there was some type of list that would, like, we need to kind of tout what we've done. Like, here is what we started out with, and then at the end of 2021, this is what we finished. Like, I feel like we need something to show what we have worked towards, what we did accomplish, and then here's our priority list for next year. Maybe I'm asking for too much, and you can say that. But I feel like we're always pushing and saying this is what needs to happen, and we're working off a list that's from 2009, versus, I think the sidewalk connectivity was a little bit earlier and started probably 2 years ago when I came on. So I guess it's just a list of saying, here's the things we have accomplished for the year in making the city safer.
Yeah, and Mr. Keene put together a list of things in there that had, he went through and drove the city and crossed certain things off that have been done. So that's good, and you guys all have that. I don't have like a Word document where I took that and deleted all the ones that were completed. I personally keep a list of projects that we've done, and that can be street, storm, water, just throughout the year, because I just, for my historical records or whatnot, and that's kind of different from just what we're talking about right here. I just do it just to look back on records and so on and so forth. But
So the safety is a small part of your list.
no,
versus the
but I
storm
mean, like
drains
we
and all
said
that.
in the budget, there's something that goes through accomplishments of the year, and it says for fiscal year 2021, these were our accomplishments, and for fiscal year 2022, these are, or excuse me, 21-22, these are things we're looking to do. And so if you go through that, I mean, you can read that and just list some.
And that's
some
in the
of our
budget?
accomplishments.
Yes, and we have all the budgets posted on our website. So
Right.
you could read each one of them. You just find where the public works is. Each department actually does that.
Okay, I haven't ever looked at it. I think it's time.
And as I was saying, Hirsch, I think that's great what's happened at Wheatland. I guess for me, and I've said this before, anytime we're touching pavement or sidewalk, even if it's small, if there's some safety measure that we can integrate that won't break the bank, just push, sort of, it's like eating the elephant one bite at a time sort of thing. So the next page, it's at the top of the page, and this is under objective 2 of maximizing available system capacity, but it was, street cross-section designs may be modified without need for a variance for city-initiated street improvement projects. So I get that, like, putting in a turn lane would probably be something that would fit under that.
Or a traffic circle.
Or a traffic circle, yeah. But kind of tying to what I was saying in the past, would a safety measure that's integrated into some cross-section design, would that require a variance? Or not?
I'm not sure. I think those things would be looked at in coming up with the design of whatever it is. So as far as a variance, it would just, here it is, we're putting this in, let's look at all the aspects of it and what's going in and what do we need to do to make this safe? What's the standard? And then looking in that situation, different things might be in place right there that, we do something a little different because we saw there's a safety issue and so we make a change in it. So, I mean, that's just something that's done as we're looking and doing things.
Yeah. And I guess I'm just trying to get at that, sometimes getting a variance is like getting an act of Congress passed. And sometimes a variance is just checking a box. So I'm curious what the variance process would be, at least as described in this thing.
I don't, that's not, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have an answer for you, Mike.
Okay. Let's see, so in pedestrians and cyclists on 2.5, policy number 4, goal 5, policy 4, policy 7. Bicycle safety devices such as bicycle-proof drain gates, rubberized pads at railroad crossings, and appropriate signage shall be utilized. Do we have those? Okay. I know like the one over by Keizer Station, that railroad crossing is pretty good. And I don't think we have much.
We don't have any other crossings that are in Keizer.
But how about a bicycle-proof drain gate? I don't even know what that would look like.
Well, the ones on the River Road were the worst
Right.
a number of years ago, but they've changed. They used to be,
Just the lines.
Wheel catchers.
they were true wheel catchers. Now they've been changed. I don't know how many years ago, but they were changed. Yeah, and I do not recommend cycling on the north part of River Road. But if you did and hit one of those, you'd be okay.
It'd be bumpy, but
It'd be bumpy,
but
but originally they were killers.
Right. Yeah.
do they when you do this, do you consider a bike lane a city facility?
Part of the street.
Okay, so
It's a
part of
travel
it.
lane.
Okay, well, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
where we have,
Yeah.
Where we,
and there's minimum state standards for a bicycle lane, correct?
and just because there's a white line doesn't mean it's a bike
I
lane.
know, but if there's a little picture of a biker in it,
Or
does that
it's
make it a bike lane?
a 10-inch stripe suddenly makes it a bike lane. Now, it may not be a good bike lane.
Yeah,
10-inch stripe.
Yeah.
And so what's the non-bike
Generally,
lane?
they're
Like
6.
Oh, boy.
Or less.
Guess you gotta have your ruler out with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one last one,
okay.
Oh, 8.
8 inches? Oh. I had, there were other couple of things, but the other one that I was curious at, and this gets back to kind of what Katie was saying, but this is on 212, goal 10, policy 1, talks about on-street bike parking is second in priority to the needs of travel modes, i.e. vehicle, transit, bicycle, pedestrian. So, like, one thing I'm thinking of is at the corner of Manbrin and Cherry, in front of who is it? Not the Elks.
No,
Is
the Elks
that
is
the
right
Elks?
there.
The Elks
Okay,
is
yeah. So there's a lot of no parking along that road there. It's on the south side of Mandarin,
South side.
In front of the Elks?
in front of the Elks. So who did, like, is that, do you know, like, like Katie came in and asked, and we had the other one right nearby where someone asked. Is that generally how things like that happen? Or even like near the hotel across from, was it Avamere? That whole street is no parking, on-street parking.
Yeah, generally come in if they're not in place from people that have expressed a problem or an issue, and then Public Works looks at it and goes from there. Bill's allowed to go 50 feet without council approval, and anything more than that, then it would be council approval. So.
And the Hotel Avamere area, the fire department had some input on that because of the width of the street.
Because of Avamere?
Yep.
Yeah.
Where they could get through
Right.
there.
And that, I can understand that to some degree, but like the one by the Elks, it's a really wide, and I can't imagine unless they don't want people in their RVs who use the area right next door.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
Can we bring this up again? I really enjoy this, but it's 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Can we bring this up again next?
Well, that was my last one for tonight.
Well, but we have this. I think we should be reading this
Yes.
more often.
Yeah, well, and I don't know, I haven't heard from staff how the grant is going for updating the TSP.
Okay,
Oh,
I know we
on that
issue.
the state is doing their transportation plan and they're wanting input, and all you have to do is go to ODOT transportation plan till January 24th.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing their big one,
Right.
which does indirectly have an effect on
Yeah,
us.
trickle down.
Okay.
But
And
Debbie?
as far as ours goes, I don't know this for sure, but I know I heard it said that because of House Bill 2001 and the change in our development code, they're kind of thinking it might be best to wait till that's done to see how it impacts the TSP, and rather than maybe have to change stuff in the TSP after the 2008 House Bill
That was
2001 thing is
in my
implemented.
notes from the meeting.
Yeah.
Did anyone at least add our items to what ODOT is asking for? Do we know?
Well,
No,
so what you're talking about is the generic,
for the state of Oregon.
ODOT transportation plan, state of Oregon.
yeah.
But does that include in cities? Like, could we list all of ours in there? I'm just curious.
No, it's indirectly it affects us because the interchange,
Right.
Keizer Station, their
Right.
plans for that affect us.
Okay, so bigger areas,
Bigger areas,
not neighbors,
not,
neighborhoods.
not neighborhoods.
Okay,
That's-
Right.
thank you.
Okay, all right, so next one was street painting. I take it, was it Corey?
They did not respond to my invitation. I sent her another one today, so.
Okay.
We postpone that till next month.
Yeah,
Can I say a couple comments, because I read through the material that was sent? And that's a cool idea. And we're always talking about traffic calming devices. And I know the little town of Hefner has painted in the middle of their main street a big, it's a clover. Four-leaf clover, because they have the biggest Irish parade west of the Mississippi.
In Hefner.
In Hefner. And it's there year-round, and when you drive in, you slow down when you go over that. So, I don't, we have to listen to what Corey has to say, but
Okay.
also, people do have said that those kind of things are good community buildings too, so.
there was discussion of that when we
Yeah,
first
yeah,
brought it
when
up,
she's
that
here.
they might move it in a different location.
Yeah,
That'd be cool to have on Cherry Street.
Well, that's where it would be, but I heard that they were considering somewhere else now.
We could consider it anywhere.
Well, right, yeah,
Are
yeah.
you talking about for Keizer Fest?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
but
Oh.
it would be semi-permanent, the way I read the material.
Yeah, these street painting things are not, yeah, you don't expect them to be there like a street line.
Like chalk.
It's not chalk, but it's not, a line marker, a lane marker is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Okay, thank you. So the next one is speed data, and thank you, Sergeant Leday, for this. We had talked about, obviously, the city does speed surveys throughout the city, and, we've talked about this before on Verda, near,
What do you have that we don't?
I just had, you didn't get this, Sergeant Leday gave this to me.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, thanks, Sergeant.
at the beginning of the meeting, yeah. So,
You gonna talk about it?
I guess we could do one of two things tonight. We could talk about this at the next meeting, and we can make copies if that's okay.
Good idea.
That way we all have it to,
Yes.
is that kosher
Well, you
with?
have to remember, I'm a liaison for the committee, so I'm a resource. So that kind of goes outside of our scope a little bit as
Uh-huh.
far as going over in depth in those studies. There's things that we can talk
Yeah.
about
I'd like to,
off aspects, but that's for you to be able to, you requested that data.
Mhm.
So that's why I've given it to you to actually go through it.
Okay,
We
So
would
if you
like
have
to go.
questions, then we can address it outside of this scope.
Yeah, thank you.
outside of the meeting, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I guess, I'm sure we'll have broad questions that we probably could talk at here, just at, not fine-grained
Maybe
questions.
not.
You can
I'll
tell
tell
us.
you if I can
You-
address-
That's
Yeah.
right.
There's certain bits and pieces of information that would be appropriate to share and
Sure.
others that are not. There's a
Yeah.
different form.
Correct.
You can tell us when we're stepping over the line now.
Absolutely.
But so that being said, then I would like to postpone this to the next meeting.
Okay.
And so that everyone could see and then have questions, and then, we'll may or may not get answers in the course of the meeting, but at least you guys can see what we've got. So, should I have the city? Okay.
Because I think the best thing to do would be to scan them. I mean, you don't want all that big huge thing of paper.
I sure don't.
So I'll scan them and send them to everybody. Is that okay?
Is that okay? Is that?
Thank you.
Okay, all right, well, thank you. Well, there you go, we just took up, this probably would have been a half an hour
Good,
here.
good job, yeah. We're moving right along.
All right, okay, planning commission report. Hirsch, what do you have?
I attended the December 1st, 2021 Planning Commission meeting, and it was basically a code audit review by the consultant, Matt Hasty and Brandon Cafford. And their project was to review everything in our code books related to House Bill 2001 code, which changes kind of, the legislature's kind of mandated that cities look at their codes to enhance multifamily density stuff. So this was not just on housing, but everything in our books. So they're working on that, and that it is taking some time to go through it. And there was mention about the TSP because that came up and said, I did hear them say, why don't we do this and see where the changes are? Because it may clearly impact, the density areas in town, which again, it's going to affect the TSP. So, the Planning Commission does have the TSP in mind, but this House Bill 2001 is really changing a lot for all cities, not just Keizer.
Yeah. Are they having open houses on the,
This is the preliminary, this was the reporter, the consultant was just giving their, so there will be more, it's got to go to city council, a few other.
Open houses. They did a survey. They didn't get very many responses. They got about 150 responses. But they're using some of that. They also understand that's not a scientific section, so they have, keep that in mind. But it will go, the schedule,
Yes.
they're going to meet again, Planning Commission meets on February 9th, is that, I got it right here?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
February 9th, and that's when they will have a draft of the code with the updates. And then March 9th, I think they plan on reviewing it again. And then I believe they're planning on a public hearing in March for the Planning Commission. And then in April, it would go forward. And the plan is to have it done sometime in May, because I think the end of June is their deadline. They have to have it complete by then? Okay.
Yep, that's state requirement.
Yeah, correct.
So is the final thing basically taking the code that we have now and then here's your new code, or?
Not
Not
completely.
completely,
No,
but
it's just
because some of
upgrading
the
it.
stuff we have is right on and some of it isn't, but it's just going word by word to make sure.
And making our rules for our city for what a duplex, a triplex, how much square footage you need in that property. That's the
many-
kind of stuff.
How
that
many
they- that we
parking
need to do.
spots?
How many parking spots, bike parking
How
even?
much grass?
Yeah, how much,
I
yeah.
don't know
So
about
just
that.
guidance for
Yeah,
for new
there's
builds.
significant enough to hire a consultant to do it and come back and,
Cities did have an option, they could just throw out their code and adopt the model code from HB 2001, but Keizer didn't want to do that.
That's good.
And who's the consultant?
Mike Hastings.
Oh, Angela? Okay, they're good. No, that wasn't an endorsement. Okay.
so that was it.
All right, thank you. Hirsch. All right, committee member input. Since you were just talking Hirsch, I'll start with Jamie.
Sounds
Okay.
good. So I just wanted to bring up that I had sent you an email sometime a couple of weeks ago about Nextdoor and the app that I've been actually monitoring. And the West Keizer neighborhood definitely hit on a lot of the areas that were being discussed by citizens in the email or on the app. And I just happened to say that last November meeting, I would go in there and I would look to see if there was anything that I could bring to our committee to kind of review, to help us strengthen some of the possible grant writing and why we need some of these changes in the plannings to get council to move to the next area for helping us to make our streets safer. So I can forward that to the committee, or I should probably forward it to Debbie to send out to the committee so that you guys can read some of the things that were being said. I let them know if they couldn't attend to at least write a letter to us to bring here, and we would read it out loud for all to hear. But it was a lot around Cummings Lane is what most of the area was, and a walk path. And it seems like this is becoming more and more up at the top of the list of areas that I've heard about for the last 2 years that really needs to probably be addressed. In looking at our sidewalk connectivity, it is, Windsor Island it's number one on there. It's got a star, so it's a priority to us. And I think we need to convey that to council, how much of a priority getting these couple of areas, and Cummings Lane is definitely a priority on this list too, to make some changes in those two places. That is all I have.
Okay, thank you. So I had just two things. One, I had the thing about the trees as parks. I don't know if you got to read that.
Yes.
And I've thought about this in the past too, where street trees do provide some, albeit small, touch of nature. And I've mentioned before about working on Keizer to become a tree city. That would be something that our city manager has to work on. But I feel like that's something that it's both a benefit to a safe routes to park sort of thing and a safe routes to school, because it does have positive effects for slowing traffic down, as well as, economic benefits to our city too. But I just thought I'd share it with you guys, and if you had any thoughts or comments on it,
Trees are always good.
yeah.
I did notice, I was driving through Keizer Station, we should compliment, given what they did, the number and amount of trees, bushes, green stuff. And I don't know if it's really that much, because sometimes I look at all the asphalt, it doesn't look like very much. But on the other hand, I was just up in Portland at, never mind, it's just acres and acres and acres of asphalt. There's not even a dandelion. So they should be complimented that when they did the planning and implementation, they did a pretty fair job. So it looks nice.
Okay.
That's,
And the other thing, I don't know if you guys got to listen to that Strong Towns podcast I forwarded. And that ties into the speed stuff too, but I feel like a lot of times we'll be talking about the same issue, but coming at it from different angles. And so even though we're talking about the same thing, so an engineer versus a safety advocate will be talking about making the streets safer, but to the engineer, their impression of safety is different than what maybe a pedestrian safety advocate is. So kind of my goal with that was to get people out of their own heads to try and see the other side and try and understand where that other side is coming from. So instead of talking past each other, we can actually work together.
So Hirsch, I want to start hearing you talking about Mandarin and not just Wheatland. Thank you very much.
That would be nice. But the Wheatland project opened my eyes because there were engineers that were listening.
Yeah.
And I have to compliment the city in getting a contractor that was really listening, because, a multi-use path and a bike facility.
we also picked a road that has some space to work with,
Right.
Well, there is right-of-way issues, and if you
but not
think,
anywhere near as much as if you tried to do Cherry or
Yeah.
River Road or,
River Road is.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about this the other day. Lock Haven past the high school and then the elementary school. That street was designed because of the potential bridge. And so it's very wide. It's got a lot of straight runs. I think we could do something with even the, those bollards as some type of protected bike lane. Something that's cheap and quick, knowing that we want to do
To
something.
slow people down.
Just it slows people down, narrows the street, gives some type of protection to bicyclists, especially the younger kids, as well as, kind of getting people the idea that, hey, this is a slower area. So as we do go into more hardscape stuff, it's not just a quick flicking the switch and now it's changed.
It's another street that more trees and maybe even some street painting.
We have murals along those
There you go, all on the
walls.
Thanks, Emilio.
Yeah. Get the high school to do that.
Well, yeah.
You need to talk to Eric. You got
Yeah,
have
there
him
is
on the hotline.
Yeah, that's,
In Texas, when I lived in Texas, there was one like that, and the high school kids did it.
yeah.
It was awesome. It went forever, and it was just great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad y'all listened to that, and I try to share what I can. David?
3 things, or maybe 4 now. I listened to it also. First off, I'm really most of you know me, a bicyclist advocate. And most of the work I've done on this committee over the years have been involved in that. However, I'm also a numbers person, a mathematician. And I was doing something in my head since I didn't have a calculator. And we got about 45,000 people or so live in Keizer. I know that, I forgot what it was, 2 point something people per residence in Keizer, something like that. So we've got about 15,000 or probably more than that, places where people can live. And every one of them have at least one car. And I don't know how many cars are registered by the people in Keizer, but it's got to be well over 15,000. And they get in that car every day because, and I'm not sure that they want to, but they have to. And they go to the store and they go to work and they take their kids to school and home like that. That's over 12,000 people a day driving. And I have to think twice when I come in here and say, well, you know, really we need to slow them down. Actually, those 15,000 people would probably like us to speed it up. So I can get from here down to the courthouse, Salem in county courthouse in say 5 minutes. Now, I'm not sure that, don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating we speed it up, but we gotta remember we're supposed to be representing everybody. And there's a whole lot of people that really like driving. I was just talking to my grandson today and he's buying a half-ton pickup so he can drive. He's not worried about gas prices and but he wants to drive around, and that's what they do, and that's what a lot of people do. So we have to kind of keep that in the back of our mind that we're not just representing people who are walking, and I don't think there's 12,000 of them in Keizer, or biking on a given day, but there are 12,000 people driving. And I'm not even sure of the numbers, I'm just taking a wild guess. I suspect it's a lot higher than
I would
that.
have to think so. I think
Yeah.
there's over 40,000.
That's one. That was just one little, just something I think about. One is I'd like to remind anybody who ever listens to this, and I actually found there were more people than I thought, and I don't know how to do it, but we need, as I get older, and I don't know about Hirsch, but I have more problems at night. My eyes don't react as quick. And so when somebody drives with their fog lights on and their headlights, one, I don't think it's legal, but I may be wrong. But at the same time, or they drive with lights that they've replaced the bulb at some point in the future, and the lights are not adjusted for traffic. So it's a problem. And I just wanted to say that. So if you do have fog lights, turn the fog lights off, and next time you get your oil changed, have them check your headlights. And the other thing is, I noticed again tonight, I don't know why black and dark brown are the favorite color of people who bike and walk at night. But it is getting lighter, thank goodness. But wear reflective colored clothing, or at least something beige. Don't wear like I am, dark brown, and go out for a walk. Reflective tape isn't that expensive. That's all.
Hirsch?
Well, I agree, brighter colors. And speaking of that, I'd like to propose to Sergeant Leday, May 14th, either 10 o'clock or 1 o'clock, for a bike skills helmet fitting event here in Keizer. Whether it's here at City Hall or possibly over at Keizer Rapids Park.
Or Keizer Station. REI let us do it last.
Maybe a tentatively yes without.
Yeah. You don't want it too early, but 1 o'clock would probably be the best time. And then we can go from planning. We already got a tentative, some helpers from West Keizer, and because I have all the equipment to get it started. David and I have been wanting to do this, now for 2 years, and I think we just go ahead and do it. Hope the COVID's not an issue. We have helmets, we have gloves, we have masks.
We have masks.
Yeah, so, and being outside, we could be a little more. So let's just schedule it and then just start working.
Which day did you say again?
I was thinking May 14th.
It's Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
From what time did you say?
Either 10 or 1 o'clock. I prefer 1 o'clock.
It's a very preliminary idea.
Yeah. The only reason why I'd say 10 or an earlier time is just because I think you'll get people to come in the morning so they can still have their day to do other stuff.
But, you know,
That baseball season.
well, it's early.
No, for little kids
No, that's kind of starts once, well, yeah, it's about that time.
on Saturdays.
You know, it's starting, so
Anyway, 1 o'clock's better than for kids.
it's, I'd like to get what I'm envisioning. This is just a vision. This is something that we did at Chavez Elementary. We had classroom instruction, so if we could get a room, for about 10 minutes, we tell the kids, you know, the rules of the road, wear bright clothes, those kind of things, and give them a little idea of what they need to experience. And then we create a street using duct tape and stop signs and a railroad track and a crossing and stuff. And we, with help from a trainer, we'll give them a clipboard, they follow the child through, and at the end, they complete it. And then Salem Police took them for a bike ride. Just a short one, and it was around their track there. And that ended it. But we had a lot of happy kids. That's what I'd like to envision here, but I don't know if we can pull everything together, but talk about it now, get it started. I know there's 2 bikes in the water.
3.
3.
I know where they are.
And I know Keizer Police had the best police bikes because you had the best lights.
Okay,
I don't know, I've never seen them.
good.
So that's what I'd like to get started, and we'll try to,
Best in the holiday lights.
yeah. And I'll just keep the committee informed, and David and I'll kind of work on that.
Okay, thank you.
And possibly get McCray involved too.
I think that'd be great, yeah. And if we could get whomever principals are still there to come.
That would be great. I figured that's how, going through McCray probably could get
Yes.
as many as possible from the Keizer area,
Yeah,
including McNary.
yeah.
You know, might even get some cadets to help.
Yeah.
That's me. Yes.
Nothing, I was just, no, I'm thinking.
yeah,
That's
okay.
what I'm thinking.
All right, well, while you think, we'll let Mike talk.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple things real quick. We have 32 ADA ramp upgrades in preparation for this summer's resurfacing, and that is out to bid, and those are due back next Tuesday. And again, those are ramp upgrades in lieu of paving that's happening this summer. And in correlation with that, the second piece is we have the list of streets that will be resurfacing this summer, and our engineers, AKS, have those, and they're preparing to get that out to bid at the end of February. So there's my two pieces for you.
Your hot
Public
list.
safety class they run.
Okay,
It's a
Sergeant Lede.
vocational.
I think the only thing we had since we were gone last month was just the completion of the Holiday of Lights Parade, which ended up being another success for us. Safety-wise, I think we can at least count it up as another win. A lot of manpower's involved in that. I want to say just offhand, we probably had at least 40 plus sworn officers to assist with locking River Road down and all those bypasses that go through. So again, that was a huge help between Marion County, Salem, and within our agency to make it succeed.
Good. All right, thank you.
Fire.
Okay, so will Counselor Smith be our permanent?
She is, yes.
Okay.
I don't know why she didn't come. She didn't tell me she wasn't coming.
Okay. Well, at least we have a new permanent one, and we'll welcome her when she comes in February. Counselor Smith? Yeah.
Wasn't she here in November?
No, that was,
Oh, Reed.
Reed, yeah,
Thank you. Okay.
that's okay.
So,
Okay,
Now, reporting to council would have been Stephen Wolf, but he's not here. So I'm looking at the roster, and the person for March is Jamie. Do you want to switch with Stephen, and then he can take your March spot?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll just let you guys figure that one out.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay, well, that seems to be the end of the agenda, so I will call it.
Thank you. Good job.